All right, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack what is honestly one of the most heartbreaking character transformations we have ever seen. Today, we're looking at a story that completely flips our understanding of loyalty, betrayal, and sacrifice. We're going to explore the absolutely devastating journey of Chloe Winters. We'll trace the exact sequence of events that dragged her from being this bright, innocent prodigy all the way to becoming the most feared entity in her entire world. So you really have to ask yourself, right? How does an innocent kid turn into a literal, world-ending demon queen? To actually understand her 300 years of just absolute pure hatred, we have to look past all the blood and the destruction and focus on this single, foundational question. What could possibly break a human spirit so thoroughly that it just freezes their heart for 3 centuries? Because as you'll see, her descent into darkness wasn't just a random choice. It was a devastating, inescapable chain reaction.
Part 1. The Innocent Junior Sister.
See? She absolutely wasn't born a monster. In fact, she was the Celestial Order's brightest, most trusting star. She was this once-in-a-century genius who was given the massive honor of guarding the sect's treasure pavilion. But the contrast here is just jarring. The same girl who faithfully guarded that treasure pavilion eventually became the first female demon queen, a supreme lord with a heart colder than ancient ice. I mean, before anyone even realized she had this immense talent, she went through unimaginable suffering. She was just a discarded child in a ruthless lower world. Her mother died at birth. The local villagers literally cast her out. And get this, by the age of 5, she was fighting stray dogs just to get something to eat. She was right at the brink of death during a freezing winter when her only salvation showed up, and it came in the form of a lowly sect servant named Ethan Vance. And that leads us to this one single promise from Ethan. "Don't be afraid, I'm taking you with me." That phrase became the entire foundation of Chloe's world. When he found her, she was so tiny he could lift her up with just one hand. She grabbed onto his shirt like a drowning person clutching a lifeline. He raised her. He taught her how to read. He guided her cultivation, and for all intents and purposes, he became her entire universe. Section 2. The Cruel System Ultimatum. But then, things take a massive, massive turn. A mysterious system drops this incredibly cruel ultimatum on Ethan. The system essentially forced him to steal the Celestial Order's greatest treasure, the Rainblade, and ally himself with the demons. If he refused, his ability to cross back over to Earth would be permanently locked. He would literally never see his home again. And to really twist the knife and force his hand, the system showed him this agonizing vision. His Aunt Sarah, the woman who sacrificed her entire youth and worked 2 jobs just to raise him after his parents died, was standing out in the freezing snow. The vision showed she had actually gone mentally ill from his disappearance, and she was frantically gluing missing posters to street poles. So Ethan was trapped, right? Trapped between his loyalty to the girl he raised in this world and the aunt who sacrificed absolutely everything for him back on Earth. Ultimately, he chose Earth.
Part 3. The Ultimate Betrayal.
Just think about the absolutely heartbreaking pacing of this specific day. Ethan needed Chloe away from the treasure pavilion so he could actually pull off stealing the sword. So he sends her a letter promising a surprise to help her cultivation and tells her to wait for him at Winterspire Peak. She wore her favorite light blue dress, the one he gave her, and she waited from morning all the way until the snow started falling at night. Her absolute peak of happiness and anticipation was weaponized to destroy her. Enforcers showed up in the dark, not with a surprise, but to violently arrest her for conspiring in Ethan's treason. Section 4. Years of Unbearable Torture. They didn't just break her emotionally, right? The sect systematically destroyed her physical body. They broke her bones, they poisoned her over and over, and they literally tore through her mind using the forbidden soul-searching arts. But you know what the most horrifying part was? It wasn't the physical pain. It was the fact that through all of this agony, trapped in pitch-black darkness, she still foolishly hoped Ethan would come back and save her. Part 5. Rise of the Demon Queen. The transformation here is just absolute. Years ago, she and Ethan had planted a pine cone at Winterspire Peak. She secretly tied a wishing string to it, praying he'd never leave her and that they would get married. Well, that warmth completely, utterly froze. It was replaced by the Doom Blade, a weapon that represented a 300-year thirst for violent vengeance against the exact man who planted that tree with her. When they finally meet on a blood-soaked battlefield 3 centuries later, everything is different. She is the supreme Lord Demon Queen, and he is the supreme lord of the opposing righteous army. She begs him for an explanation, an apology, just something to prove the warmth they shared wasn't a lie. But because he was bound by the system's incredibly strict mission parameters, he remained completely silent. And so, her frozen heart delivers this final verdict. She finally executes the man who was her literal entire world. His blood splashes right onto her face. It seems like this is the grand climax of her revenge, right? She steps on him like he's nothing. But this entire climax is built on a massive foundation of dramatic irony that she was completely blind to. Section 6. The tragic domino effect unveiled. When she forcefully rips open an elder's memories, the real, ultimate tragedy finally comes to light. She sees Ethan bleeding out his own soul to control the elder like a puppet, all just to arrange her flawless jailbreak. She gets visions of him fighting a peak duty stage ancient beast for 3 days and nights, letting it break his bones just so it wouldn't ambush her later. She even sees him sending his spirit clone into her mindscape to absorb a lethal blow for her during her trials. 300. That is exactly how many years she cultivated pure, unadulterated hatred for a man who spent those exact same 300 years secretly shielding her with his life, hiding in the shadows. Think about it. Every single time she thought she just got lucky, every time she survived a deadly crisis and cursed his name, it was actually Ethan bleeding out behind the scenes just to pave her path forward. Right after his death, the seal on the rain blade she'd taken as a trophy finally breaks, and it echoes his final weak voice. Hearing this warm, loving message, the invincible, utterly ruthless Demon Queen just drops to her knees. Standing in front of the massive pine tree they planted all those centuries ago, she weeps uncontrollably. She hugs her knees, looking exactly like that abandoned 5-year-old child shivering in a ruined hut. The apology she waited 300 years for was finally given, but the man who gave it was already gone. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. The whole tragic metamorphosis of Chloe Winters really shows us something profound. Sometimes, the line between a terrifying monster and a deeply, deeply wounded victim is just a heartbreaking, agonizing misunderstanding.